Hello, and welcome to my show. And today we are going to be talking about a movie called Knives Out. This movie comes from Rian Johnson, known for movies like Looper, Brick, The Brothers Bloom, I think that's what it's called, and everyone's favorite movie, The Last Jedi. This film is like a whodunit murder mystery type movie. Like, have you ever played a game of Clue? It's like that, but a movie and with all kinds of twists and turns. If you see any movie this year before the year ends, please see Knives Out. Go to your local movie theater and watch Knives Out before it's no longer playing in your movie theater, because this movie was fan-fucking-tastic. I love this movie. I'm gonna have to rethink my top 5 movies of 2019 and add it somewhere in there, because I absolutely adored this movie. This movie follows Daniel Craig giving his best Foghorn Leghorn impression. I say, I expect foul play, boy, as he attempts to solve the suicide or murder of a renowned crime novelist, and he has to deal with his crazy, kooky, batshit family who all have a stake in this famous crime novelist's esteemed house, his riches, and the ownership of his publishing company. This cast is so friggin' stacked. Like, besides Daniel Craig, you have Chris Evans, you have you have Chris Evans, you have Jamie Lee Curtis, you have Don Johnson, there's Michael Shannon, Catherine Langford, and my personal favorite in this entire movie, Anna, I'm trying to say this right, Ana de Armas. I'm hoping I said that right. She in particular, Ana de Armas, is the highlight of the movie. And even though she's like in the corner somewhere on the movie's poster, she's actually the film's main character. Films like these remind me how directors like Rian Johnson really work the best when they're able to be a little more outside of the box and be a little more creative. You see this in this movie, Knives Out, and you see it in his other films like Brothers Bloom and Brick. Whereas you have movies like Looper and Last Jedi, which in contrast feel more like studio efforts. And it kind of shows you why certain directors are limited by the constraints of a major studio and work much better when they're in a smaller environment with a smaller budget, because they're allowed to be more creative, be a little more outside of the box. And Rian Johnson is a great director. Regardless how people might have felt about The Last Jedi, I think he is, in my personal opinion, one of the better directors of this decade, and movies like Knives Out really show what he can do as a creative. Despite its pretty big cast, we spend most of the time with Daniel Craig and Ana de Armas' characters, Detective Benoit Blanc and Marta Cabrera, as they try to solve the case of Harlan Thornberry's death while being accompanied by Detective Elliot, played by Lakeith Stanfield, and Trooper Wagner, played by Noah Regan. And speaking of, cast in this movie, I want to talk about Lakeith Stanfield's performance. I thought he did very well. I thought he did really good in this movie as well. While his performance is a little more understated compared to Daniel Craig's and Anna's, I think he did very well in this movie. And I'm a really big fan of Lakeith Stanfield. I want to see him progress more and more, and I like seeing him in roles such as these. But because it's such a big cast, some actors don't really get the spotlight that you would think. Like, personally, I thought we were going to see more of Jamie Lee Curtis, but we really don't. And while you could say it's the movie's biggest con, I feel like it makes up for the fact that Daniel Craig and Ana de Armas steal the show. Like, these guys steal the show. Like, I'm sorry, they do. Speaking of people who steal the show, Chris Evans. Like, Chris Evans actually doesn't really show up until 20, maybe 30 minutes into the movie, like halfway through the movie. But when he does show up on screen, much like Daniel Craig and Ana de Armas, he completely steals the show with his character. At first, he seems like a bad guy. Then he seems like a good guy. And you never really know what his allegiance is and where he's at. He is a chaotic neutral. Chris Evans truly is a real chaotic neutral when he's not Captain America. I could say more, but really I don't want to give anything away because this is one of those movies you have to see for yourself. Like, these twists and these turns, they might be predictable for some people, but the way they're handled, the way they do these twists, the way they do these turns, I absolutely love them. And I don't even want to continue talking about this movie or really go into spoilers, because this is one of those movies that needs to be seen to be believed. And when you watch it for the first time without any knowledge of what's going on, it will leave you on the edge of your seat, especially as the movie continues to go on. But overall, I have to give Knives Out an A+. Screw it, I'm giving it an A+. This movie was awesome. I loved it. If you had your doubts about Rian Johnson after The Last Jedi, I implore you, I plead and beg you to go see Knives Out, because you're going to have a great time with this movie. Top 5 movie of 2019 for me. I love this movie. A+, Knives Out. Check it out.